Hey guys. My car is currently in the shop. I am waiting on laundry at the moment. I am running on a brownie for breakfast. Anyways, I have some time because I'm homebound today, and it's also a really cloudy day. I'm using today as kind of my catch-up day, clean the apartment, laundry, etc. So I thought that I could sit down and film something. This video is one that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and so from the moment that I started my DCP, honestly before I started my DCP, before I even left to go do my program, I already had notes in my phone listing out everything. So I've been doing this for a really long time. So I have a long list. Let me pull it up. Look at my little Star Wars case. Don't we love it? I have a list on my phone that I've started before I even started my DCP that I had listed out of everything. I have dates, I have times. This probably isn't going to be a really long video. It's probably going to be on the shorter end. Then again, I like to talk, so you never know. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and start with my entire DCP timeline. So basically this is going to go over from the time that applications dropped to the WBI. It's going to go through all of the application process. It's going to go into the waiting period. It's going to go into what Traditions was like, getting my role, my full-time offer, all that jazz. Like I said, this probably isn't going to be a really long video, but I thought that it would be important so that way you kind of have a timeline to kind of base it off of. And everybody's timeline is going to be a little bit different, but this is mine, and so I thought that this might help out some people. So the first date that I want to talk about is when applications opened. So I did my Disney College program for the fall of 2022. So for the DCP, there's the spring and there's the fall. And I chose to do the fall, so my application dropped in January. So the applications for whatever season you're wanting to do it are gonna drop the season before, if that makes any sense. So because I did the fall 2022, applications dropped in January. Where if I did the spring 2023, applications dropped in August. That way they have the timeline of getting accepted, etc. So my applications opened January 24th. I do specifically remember that day, because I had my first car accident, nothing serious, it was not that big of a deal. The day had started out really not great, and I went home and I was like, I'm just gonna try to remain positive. You know, I had work that day, whatever. I go home, I check my email, I see that applications have opened, and I was like, oh, is this my chance to get out of Missouri? So applications opened on January 24th. It was a Monday, I believe, and applications ended on April 1st. So really just about 3 months. So I chose to apply the day of. I filled out my application that day. I completed it within like the first hour. The application really in the beginning is just like your name, number, address, work experience, where you go to college. It's like your resume, like your just typical resume. And I know that there was a spot to insert your resume and cover letter. I did not do that. So I just filled it out on the application and sent it in. So I heard back literally 15 minutes later. Like I think I submitted it, like I said, within the same hour, and like not even 15 minutes later I got the email. It said that I qualified for a web-based interview. I didn't really know much about the WBI, so I chose to not complete it that day. Instead, I took the evening and I did a bunch of research on it, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on it, and I watched a bunch of people talk about it. That was what I kind of based it off of. So by the next day, I took the time, January 25th, that evening, to complete my WBI. So basically all that it is it's kind of like a personality test. It is timed. It's been like over a year since I've done it. I just remember it was a time test. Be honest. Don't like try to lie and get around some like it'll just be like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 5, like, are you messy, are you clean, like just general stuff. They want to pick out the liars that are lying about their answers. So be consistent, be honest. I completed that January 25th. So after that, it was a complete waiting game. I did not get my acceptance email until February 21st. So almost an entire month later. Wave drops usually happened on Mondays. I think there was 1 or 2 surprise waves that happened on Thursdays. If you don't know what a wave is, for us at least, it was every Monday that I would keep up on the Twitter page and follow the recruiters, and they would post and say Happy Wave Monday, and they would just send out a bunch of acceptances that day, and then, you know, you'd go the rest of the week not hear anything, and then boom, that Monday or the next Monday there would be another wave of acceptance offers. So I was keeping up, follow the Twitter pages, follow the recruiters. I was keeping up that way that I knew when waves were happening. I knew friends that got accepted, you know, days after. I knew friends that had to wait longer than I did. You have 7 days to officially accept your offer. So I took about 2 days. I did not accept mine until February 23rd. So just 2 days later, you have to pay the acceptance fee. You have to pick out your date. You'll have a few different options. For me, I think that they started May 2nd, I think was the earliest possible day for fall of 2022 that you could go. And they would have a few different options for May 2nd. So like they would have May 2nd through August something. Or they would have May 2nd through December, or they'd have May 2nd through January. Like for each arrival date, you had different departure date options, but they were all connected in one, if that makes sense. The arrival date is always on a Monday and the departure date is always on a Thursday. After that, it was a lot of waiting. I did not hear back for hardly anything for another month. So during that time is when I joined the Facebook groups. I really got invested on Instagram. I started my Disney account. If that is something that you're wanting to do, I do highly recommend it because that is how I met some of my friends, and it did help in the process leading up to coming to Disney because I came down here by myself. I knew nobody, I had nobody, so it did really help. I really took that time to prepare myself for moving to Florida. But at that time also, I did not know what housing complex I would be in, so I really couldn't buy like bed sheets or anything like that because I didn't know what kind of, I didn't know if I was going to be sharing a bedroom, or I didn't know if I was going to be having my own bathroom. Like the two different extremes, I didn't know. The next time that I heard something was April 25th. So that is when dorms registration opened. I know that it's based off of your arrival date. So like I had a friend who started May 2nd and her dorm registration was like a month before me. So mine opened up on April 25th. I believe it opened at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and that was when I was able to link with my roommate and put in like our preferences for housing and that kind of stuff. And if we had any housing accommodations, that would all go in there. It was basically like putting in a bid for your, like what you wanted for housing. May 9th is when parking passes dropped. Now I have a whole YouTube video dedicated to the parking pass. The next thing that happened was my role reveal. So that was a few weeks later. And like I said, I was kind of basing it off of the arrival dates prior to me on when they were getting their role reveals. So we did not get a say in our role at all. So I had no idea anything that I was going to be getting. So our role reveal was on May 25th. I can't remember what the email said, but that is when I got the email that I would be in quick service at Walt Disney World. So the housing reveal happened on June 6th is when I found out what housing type I would be in, and I would find out that I would be in a 2x2. After that, it was literally like 4 days later, it was on June 10th that we got our move-in date itinerary and our location reveal. So it all came in the same newsletter detailing what our location would be, what we would be doing at Disney World, and like what we would be doing for our job in Disney World, what our move-in week would look like. So like it would tell us the time of our check-in, when our onboarding was, that type of stuff. Move-in day for me was June 20th. So I think we left Missouri like June 17th or something like that. We left a few days before, and then we came here and we spent a day before I had to move in. I think that my check-in was at like 10 a.m. or 10:30. It was 10 or 10:30 in the morning, and then I think my onboarding, it was like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Like it was literally just, or maybe it was like 11:30. Like it was not that long after my check-in time. So that was June 20th. My Traditions was not until June 24th. So it was that Friday. Move-in day was on a Monday. Traditions was on Friday. That's what it's called. If you watched my video before this, I could not think of the name of the second class. I have it listed in my notes. Bringing Magic to Life. That's what it's called. So I'm so sorry. I know that a lot of people had Traditions and Bringing Magic to Life combined, and it would be a full day thing. So they would have Traditions in the morning until like, you know, just for a few hours. Then they would have an hour for lunch, and then they would come and do Bringing Magic to Life. And so they would call it Traditions, would be an all-day thing. For us, it was split into 2 days. So we had Traditions on June 24th. June 25th is when we had Bringing Magic to Life. June 26th is when I had my festival specific. So my location was Epcot Festivals. I believe that my roommates were all off that day, like they had not started their training. After festival specifics, I had 2 days off. That was when my roommates started their training, and I had time off because I didn't start training until June 29th. So that was my first day of on-the-job training. The 29th was a morning shift, and the 30th was a closing shift, and then the day after that was my first day without a trainer. So I only had 2 days of training. Now my deployment started July 3rd and it lasted until July 11th. So from July 3rd to the 11th, I was deployed. I was not at Epcot, and that's just because the gap in between Flower and Garden and Food and Wine, they didn't need us. So that's when I worked at Pop Century, and then my last day at Pop Century was July 11th. After that, my festival specifics for Food and Wine was July 10th, so I only had one more day of deployment after that. So my first day back at Food and Wine was July 14th. I had started my program June 20th. September 6th is when I received my full-time / extension email. So how it works was they sent out an email program-wide. I can't remember the title of it, but it was basically like choose your next steps, and it would have the option of extending your program, or it would have the option of going part-time full-time. So basically the difference is, and for me I decided really early on that I did not want to extend my program, and I just immediately wanted to go into being a part-time full-time cast member because I knew that I wanted to stay in Florida at least for a while. I didn't want to leave after my program ended, and I found out that your college program does not count towards seniority with the company. So to that, knowing that I wanted to stay in my best interest, it was for me to go part-time full-time. For me, I did get more of a say in my role and location for going part-time full-time. Extension, you're basically extending into the same role. It's kind of the same thing as when you get your acceptance offer. You get to choose your extension date, re-sign your lease, etc. It had the option for extending and going part-time full-time in the same email. It was due October 17th, like I said. I had submitted mine a long time before that. October 21st, we received our deployment information. So basically for festivals, very similar to when I was deployed to Pop Century, from going to Food and Wine to Festival of the Holidays, they did not need near as many cast members as we had working for Food and Wine. I was ironically at my Mickey's Not So Scary, and that is when I received the news that I would not be staying at festivals and I would be going to Sunset Ranch Market. Not Be Real going off right now. Oh, that's so funny. Wonderful. I did not get my acceptance for part-time full-time until November 10th. So about a month after, it was like a little less than a month after the application was initially due, is when I received my acceptance. Now, in this acceptance, I did not receive any information on my role, my location, what I would be doing. It was just to accept the offer, and it kept saying, you know, in 6 to 8 weeks, we're gonna send you another email revealing your role and location, but this was purely just the acceptance. After that, my deployment started November 21st. That is when Food and Wine ended, and then I was immediately deployed to Sunset Ranch Market. So my time at festivals was really just the entirety of Food and Wine. I finally, a month later, on December 22nd, received my full-time offer of quick service food and bev. It still had no location. Basically, I had to just keep on my leaders and keep asking them at Sunset, keep asking them if they had any information, because like I said, the email that I received about a month later did not tell me where I would be. It just told me that I would be doing quick service. And finally, I received my Disney alumni email on December 26th. That, unfortunately, is all that I have listed on my notes of a timeline, because I did not ever receive an email telling me my location. At one point I did call casting, but they didn't really seem to know. So like I said, I just had to stay on my leaders, and it wasn't until about 2 weeks before my program ended, because I needed about a week and a half off to go home in between my program and going full-time, because my program ended June 26th and they wanted me to start full-time immediately. So the last day scheduled was that Tuesday, then I had Wednesday off, and then Thursday was like move out day, all that kind of stuff. And then I had a few days off, and then that Sunday is when I was supposed to start my full-time. That was another reason that I kept bugging my leaders, because I did need to get about a week off in between to go home and like get some of my stuff and collect things and come back. And I also haven't been home in months since I left in June. I had to stay on my leaders, and finally one of my lovely leaders came up to me and told me that, said that they had not received any information, but that it looked like I was on the upcoming schedule. So that is how I found out that I was staying at Sunset. But yeah, that is my complete DCP timeline. I probably left out a few dates, but I think that went over the majority of stuff. I really just wanted to go over the application process. I wanted to go over when I got my full-time extension email, because I know that that piques a lot of people's interest on when you find out that. Now, if you extend your program, I'm not sure when you get the email after that to go part-time full-time, but I know, like, I have friends of mine at Sunset that just keep having to talk to the leaders. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is you have questions that you don't know the answer to, keep bugging your leaders about it, because somebody has to know something at some point. you would think. So yeah, that is my entire DCP timeline. I started my full-time technically on January 29th is when my seniority date started. So like, even though I was off for, you know, the next week, I technically started my full-time on January 29th, and I have been full-time ever since. I am currently working at Sunset Ranch Market. I hope that you found this video interesting, entertaining. I hope that it helped you out slightly. If not, I'm sorry. Like I said, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for over a year, which is why I kept notes on my phone of every single date, because I kept wanting to sit down and film this video. So yeah, that is my entire DCP timeline. That is it for me for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a lovely day.